Okay. All right, you guys, welcome. Welcome to our garden party, our virtual garden party. I'm super excited about it. I'm so thrilled to introduce you to everyone who's speaking tonight. First, I'll just introduce myself and who I am. My name is Courtney, and I work with some of these wonderful women that you are going to hear from tonight. And we are all part of a global movement, a global healthy living revolution that we're really excited about. And a portion of that revolution is these vertical aeroponic gardening systems that we're going to be talking about tonight that are allowing people to grow their own food in all different climates around the world. So just so you know a little bit about me, I am in Northern California, and I do grow with a tower, which I'm not in front of it at the moment, but you're going to get to see Mel and Suzanne and Brittany all share theirs. And I'm going to just go ahead and let you guys know that if you need to mute yourselves, I don't know if you're on a computer or phone, you're going to swipe to the left or to the right to be able to find that mute button. You'll find it down on the bottom corner. I'm going to try and keep everybody muted, but just in case you accidentally unmute yourselves and you can get to it faster, that would be helpful so we can cut down on some of the background noise. And then also, if you have any questions, there is a chat function in Zoom that you can put your questions in there. So as we're speaking, if something comes up for you, just go ahead and put it in the chat, and we'll leave a little time at the end for us to go through and answer those. So without further ado, I'm going to jump in and introduce you guys to Suzanne. She lives in Northern Canada in a small mining community called Flin Flon, Manitoba. I love the name of your town. Been growing with the towers for almost 3 years and now has 4 towers she uses in her home. Suzanne is also an active volunteer at her local food bank and is currently growing with 3 borrowed towers from their community schools to supplement food donations that they receive. Super cool. So Suzanne, go ahead and unmute yourself and share what you've got.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. So I'm going to start by just giving you a little virtual tour of my towers. And unfortunately, this isn't quite working how I thought it would. So as you can see, I'm a crazy tower garden lady. I have 4 tower gardens. I have one that's completely full of herbs. The second one, which is our little home tower, is full of strawberries that I just planted the beginning of June. Then I have one that's completely decked out with a variety of greens. And then I have my little project tower where I'm trying to grow nothing but miniature cherry tomatoes and pepper plants. So there's the benefit of having 4 tower gardens, that you can do a little bit more experimenting. So I wanted to make sure that I didn't talk too much. So I've got a few little notes, and I'm just going to run you through kind of the basics of what you get when you buy a tower garden. So as I've alluded to, we have 2 tower garden models. One is called the Flex and one is called the Home. They're both aeroponic growing systems. So that's different than hydroponics. With hydroponics, your plants are going to sit right in the water. But with aeroponics, it's all about the mixture of the oxygen, the water, and those nutrients. And you'll find with the tower gardens, they've actually done research on this, that our plants are going to grow at least 3 times faster than that traditional gardening that you would do in a soil. And I have to put a plug in for my husband, because he always says the best thing about a tower garden is no weeding. And right now, our climate has been rain, rain, rain. And you know what that grows in Canada? Weeds and mosquitoes. And I don't have to deal with either of those inside. So I'm just loving that. So what happens with the tower garden is, as you can see, there's that center column. And there's a pump that's very much like a fish aquarium pump that's going to pump the water right up the center of the tower, and then it's going to rain down onto your pods. And you maybe can even hear mine getting a watering right now. Okay, that's all on a timer, which is really awesome because you don't need to worry about whether you're watering your tower. You can leave home for a few days. It's really a great feature. And then I have to have lights because growing indoors, obviously I have to have something to simulate the sun. So those are also a pretty awesome thing because they also come on timers, so I don't need to worry about getting them on and off at the right time. And the other thing that's really amazing is how energy efficient they are. So people often ask me, whoa, you have 4 tower gardens, does it cost you a lot of money to run them? So my answer is, because maybe where I live, we have pretty relatively cheap hydro. I'm on what's called an equalized payment plan, and I haven't had to increase it in 2 years. So that's a pretty good indicator that they're pretty cheap to run. I also like the lights because you can touch them. You're not going to burn your hands. So if you have little kiddos and they want to be around your tower, you don't need to worry about anybody getting burned. So that's another amazing feature. The systems are made out of UV stabilized food grade plastic. So what you need to know is it's a really great system that's going to last you for years and years and years. It's easy to clean, and you don't need to worry that the plastic is leaching any toxins into your food. But what's the point of growing healthy food but basically poisoning it, right? So the larger system, the Flex, is 30 inches by 30 inches, and it's 62 inches tall, unless you want to put on what we call an extension package, and that would take it up to 81 inches tall. So you need about 3 square feet in order to grow food in your home. So I always tell people that's sort of the size of a regular washer or dryer. So you can imagine where you might be able to finagle these things in. Up here in Canada, I have friends who grow in their basements. I have friends who grow in their heated garages, or I'm really lucky. I've got this great big porch area, so I've been able to just create this little farm here. Now the home system is smaller. It's only, 24 by 24 inches, and it's only 58 inches tall. So if you need something that's a little bit smaller, then that's the one you're going to want to go with. The Flex comes with 20 growing pods, and if you put the extension on, you can grow up to 28 plants, which I always say to people, if you can afford to do that, you might as well go big or go home, right? Now with the smaller model, you're going to get 16 pods to grow in and 16 microgreen pods to grow in. So if you're wondering what a microgreen is, it's basically a baby plant. It's going to be really nutrient dense, so it's awesome for throwing into your salads or your smoothies. And it's also kind of gourmet if you want to have fancy garnishes, right? The smaller model comes with built-in wheels, as well as a really cool water gauge, so you'll know when you need to fill it up. Whereas the other one, you're going to need to buy those wheels separately. And if you'd like, you can also add a tomato cage, which you've seen I've got on some of mine. I always recommend people buy the wheels because you're going to want to move your tower around in order to clean, that kind of thing, or even just turn it for harvesting. And if you're growing outside in a really hot climate, something like that's important because you want to get your reservoir off the hot ground. You don't want any of the heat to transfer up into the reservoir. That makes it hard for your plants. The lights are sold separately in Canada, but in the United States, if you buy the home model, it's going to be included in the price. So I think that's all I'm going to tell you, except my 3 favorite garden tips would be, in Canada, we have something called a reflective survival blanket. I don't know if you guys have seen these, but that would be like you got caught out. Say if you go fishing in your boat and you get stuck out on the shore and you're going to get cold, you would wrap this around yourself. But these also are a great thing to wrap around your tomato cage when you're starting seedlings, and it creates a little greenhouse effect, and your plants will just take off. My second tip would be, if you're growing inside and you can possibly wing it, get a hose that it can attach to your tap. You might want to put a filter on it as well. That's up to you, but it saves you buckets and buckets of work, literally. And my last tip would be get involved with the Tower Garden community. It's amazing. We have like Facebook groups. I know our team personally, all our reps are getting really excited about towers. So ask questions. It's no different than if you start gardening outside. You're not going to know a whole lot. You're going to have wonderful things happen and you're going to have horrible things happen, but that's how we learn. You can just plant more seeds. So, oh, and one more thing I was supposed to cover is when you get your system, you also get all these things that I put on this chair. So you don't need to worry that you have to buy even your seeds. You're going to get seeds, rock wool, little net pots. You're going to get your nutrients. You're going to get your pH stuff so you can test to see where it's at and how to correct it. So it's like pretty much a plug it in and go. And that's all I have to say.
Awesome. Thank you, Suzanne, for that great overview. I'm going to turn it over to Melissa now, who's going to share some more with us and her personal experience with tower gardening. Just so you know a little bit about Melissa, she works in civil engineering and is an urban gardener in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, Canada. She's been growing both indoors and out for the past 5 years with her son, Caleb. Melissa has helped her local high school home ec class incorporate 3 towers into their curriculum and is passionate about food security and water conservation. So take it away, Mel.
All right, thanks, Courtney. So I'm outside, so if you can't hear me, you're getting too much wind noise, just let me know and I'll run back inside. I just want to show you my 3 outdoor towers. So again, my name is Melissa. I hail from Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, Canada, Treaty 6 territory and homeland of the Métis people. And I love gardening outdoors. If I would have known how much I would have loved this, I would have bought 3 all at once. But instead, I took it slow and started with 1 tower. So I immediately got how awesome this would be, especially in our climate, to grow food year round. Much like Suzanne, here we have questionable weather. Our growing season is so short. Like we joke that we have 2 seasons, winter and not winter, but it's sadly true. So we can grow, usually the beginning of June is safe. We're safe from snow sometimes. And then come into September, we're kind of done. So we really, our winter season, our indoor season is longer than our outdoor growing season. So the ability to be able to grow year round is huge for us, especially because most of our produce is trucked from long distances away. So when we talk about food that's picked at the peak of its nutrition, like here we have the ability to do that rather than have to wait for food to be trucked up from California, you know, from warmer climates and into our grocery stores where they've been sitting for a few weeks. You know, this is amazing. And, you know, my family lives in northern Saskatchewan. The farther north you get, the more scarce food is, the longer it is to be trucked. So food security and water conservation are always on my mind. So I'm just going to show you a little bit about outdoor growing. When you're outdoor growing, you do not need any light. So right now I have 3 towers. So you can actually get a family, it's called a family trio of towers, and you get a little bit of a discount on them. But if you're gonna like it as much as I do, you might as well get the discount. This is what the high school bought. They bought 3 towers to experiment with, and they do a salad program and they feed the kids using a curriculum that you can actually get from Tower Garden. And a little bit of the home ec teacher has done her own programming, but they grow food and they feed each other. How amazing is that? After, if we have enough time, Courtney, please mention the Green Bronx machine. This was something, Stephen Ritz is a teacher in the Bronx, and his story about how he brought food to a food desert and was feeding kids and seeing the improvement in quality of life and their education and their attendance. It's amazing. So if we have time, I would love if we could maybe put it in the chat so people can find the website. But that's something, if you're an educator, please look into the Green Bronx machine. So I'm just going to show you a little bit about what I'm growing. So I did a lot of experimenting this year. If I can give any advice, just experiment. It doesn't matter if it works out. You might remember next season, you might not. I usually don't. Like this year I tried, at the back there, you can see I tried beans on top of my peas. I won't be doing that next year. It didn't work out. But you know what I'm really loving? I'm really loving my strawberry tower with my edible flowers. This is awesome. So right now my son comes and just picks strawberries straight from the tower. I have a salsa tower. It's full of peppers. We've got some marigolds up there just for pollination, and they're also a great pest deterrent. But we've got celery in the back, we've got peppers, we've got tomatoes, and this is what I like growing outside. So if you're someone like me that likes to grow outside and then bring your towers inside, I'm going to suggest you clean your tower completely out at the end of the season and then start new inside. You know why? Because pests love to come inside and have free range of food. It's free food, right? So now I'm going to take it inside because I'm very, very aware that we don't want to take up too much time. Just going to take it inside, and I'm going to be sneaky and try not to show you how messy my house is. It's busy mom life, right? And actually that's one of the things that really helped me decide to grow with my tower is that I loved gardening so much, but I just didn't have the time to weed. And right now in my current house, I don't have the space to have a soil garden. So this meets all my needs. If I had the space and the time to do both, I would, but I don't. And this gives me the ability to grow food easily. So in the background, and Courtney, just let me know if you can't hear me. in the background, I'm starting with the Tower Garden home. I'm going to use this inside. I am so excited. I only put it together halfway so I could show you how easy it is to put together. They come with a set of instructions. I highly encourage that you have these, just have a quick read over before you put it together. And then also we have lots of videos, and you can talk to the person who, you know, helped you get growing, and they can help you too. So once well, basically your tower fits together like Lego. There's some stainless steel rods in here, and inside the tower, you won't be able to see this because it's too fine, but you have an A and a B on there. So basically you put the rods through the holes, and if you pick the wrong letter, just turn it because it'll fit. So in this case, there, it fits. Woo! So that one fit in hole B or A. Now I'm going to use hole B and put it together like that. There, it's on. So that's the Tower Garden Flex. So now the cool thing is this is similar to what, if you were to get an extension kit, they would give you shorter rods. And what you would do is screw these rods in. You hand tighten these, so you don't need any tools. Actually, the Flex models, you don't need any tools at all, but the home version, I did need a little wrench to put the wheels on. So now that's on. Again, same thing. These will fit only one way. There's sections like this. And see, look, it doesn't fit. I didn't put it on the right way, so we're just going to turn it. I probably couldn't see that, actually. Oh, I still did it the wrong way. So anyways, I'm going to leave it like that just for the sake of time, but I wanted to show you how easy that was. Because what will happen after you have one more section, this goes on top. And then you would put your screws in just to tighten it down. And then our lights go on top. So I had mine sitting here. I don't have this screwed on, but this is how your lights would sit. And then you can adjust like that. So I'm actually just going to put these down because I don't have them secured. But they're really easy. Sorry, that was super fast. And I just wanted to show how easy it is to put these things together. My son and I do our flexes in like 20 minutes. This I've never set up before. And I mean, it's like putting Lego together. So the couple things I wanted to show you, Suzanne asked me to tell you about the tonic. One of the most common questions we get is our mineral blend organic? So how do, if you're planting in soil, your plants would be taking nutrients from the soil. Since we are doing an aeroponic gardening system, our plants are taking nutrients from water and nutrients that we provide. So you will get jugs of mineral blend A and B. One of them is from land and one of them is from sea. And one of the common questions is our mineral blend organic? The answer is no, because minerals by nature are inorganic. Okay, so minerals are not living, they're salts. So the Tower Garden has come up with a blend that mimics as closely as they can to the natural water cycle. And this is, you can experiment with other products, but basically this is your best practice. This is going to set you up for success if you feed your plants the quality food that's provided. So I would highly recommend sticking with the tonic from Tower Garden. Now, if you're in Canada, you're going to get big jugs. If you're in the States, I think they provide smaller ones, and I highly recommend ordering an extra set. These last me well over a year. So that's about all that I end up buying periodically to upkeep my tower, because after it's paid for, and you can pay for these over 12 months, after it's paid for, it's a money tree. It's just pumping out food for free, right? So you just have to feed it. The other thing I want to talk about is starting your seeds. So Tower Garden gives you this cute little seed starting pack. You have rock wool. This is a spun rock wool, it's also inorganic because we don't want to be putting organics into a closed loop system, okay? So we're going to soak these, and you put seeds in them to start. They give you everything you need. And you have two options when you want to pop your seeds into the tower. You have this net pot, and then you also have, where did I put it? Oh no, it's right here. We have two options. So we have the net pot, and we also have this little hook. So what I would recommend is I actually put my tomatoes on this little hook because the root balls get so big that it often takes, it's hard to get the net pot off. So what you would do is just pop your seeds into this rock wool, and when they're ready, when they're sprouted, you pop them in like that. If you were using the net pot, I love using my lettuces and herbs in that. I've got a sprouted plant here. That goes in. Pop it in like that. So that was all that I was going to talk about. If I was talking about my tips for growing, especially if you're going to choose to grow indoors and outdoors, I would say never bring outdoor plants inside. Just start fresh from inside. You'll greatly reduce your risk of pests that want to, find a nice warm place to hang out for the winter and eat your food all winter. But I would suggest start over from scratch and grow inside, and don't bring your plants from outside. I also like starting seeds inside, especially big ones like peas and beans. Start them in damp paper towel and put them in a Ziploc bag and let them sprout in there. Then you can put them in the rock wool. It's amazing. Then you don't waste seeds. You can see which seeds are viable. And that's probably one of my favorite tips. So I'm going to pass it back to Courtney. I hope I didn't take too long, but I can talk for hours about this. I'm going to pass it back to Courtney because we have another guest growing in a completely different climate. So I'm excited to hear from Brittany. Thank you.
All right. Awesome, Mel. Thank you so much. So I'm going to introduce Brittany now. Brittany lives in Southern California. She's a former collegiate and professional volleyball player and current volleyball coach. Britt has 2 kiddos and is loving all the new things she's learning about gardening. She's in her first year of growing with her tower, and she's excited to share more about her experience thus far. So take it away, Britt.
All right. Okay, you guys, it might be a little bit loud. We have a family next door playing a baseball game. But I wanted to make sure and show you guys my tower. So like Courtney said,
Hold on, Britt. Something happened and you're muted, and I don't know why. Let's see. I'm trying to unmute you, and it's not working. There we go.
Is it working?
Yeah.
Technical difficulties. Awesome. All right. So this is my 6-month gardening, doing tower garden, and this is it here. It's gorgeous. I absolutely love it. But the biggest thing that I wanted to come on to share with everyone is that I never gardened before. I didn't know anything. And so I was kind of terrified to get started with the tower. I got to see what Suzanne and Melissa and Courtney and everybody was experiencing, and I thought, like, that's great for them, but I'll be the one to kill all of these plants. Like, that's just going to be me. And so finally, after about a year, I was like, all right, Brittany, let's do this. So I jumped on board, and after 4 months of gardening with our vertical garden, I just got kind of obsessed with it. Once I realized truly how simple it was, I was like, this is amazing. And I started growing zucchini and squash in the soil. And so if you follow me on social media, you know I'm obsessed with this now, and I recommend it to everyone. Like Courtney said, I'm a mom of 2, and I don't have time for a massive garden. I'm coaching and just running all over the place, and so this makes things a lot easier for me. The other thing is that I was scared about was just like putting it together. I felt like this is so big, it's massive, I'm gonna mess it up, I won't be able to put it together. And what's awesome is that we have on YouTube, we have literally steps, like anyone could set this thing up, step-by-step instructions. We have Facebook groups that give amazing support from seasoned and unseasoned gardeners. So I utilize the heck out of that, and I make sure and share that with all of my friends who are gardening now as well. Check in my notes so that I make sure and share everything that you guys need to know. My kids absolutely love this. They are, every morning I come out here, I'm cutting stuff off. They come out here, my son is always asking for green onions because that's his favorite. And that was another thing that I sort of felt like I had heard before, that when you start growing your own food, your kids are going to ask for it too. My kids are picky. I don't know how many of you guys have super picky kids, but I just kind of felt like I'm going to grow and it doesn't even matter. They're not going to ask for the food. And they do. They come out here and they're picking kale off and eating it. They're picking green onion off and eating it. So that's been amazing. And last thing that I wanted to show you guys right now is just how simple this is. So I'm going to kind of turn the camera just so you can see a little bit more. I brought my bowl out and my scissors. I want you guys to see, this is what I do every morning. I come out, I cut some kale off, maybe some of my lemon balm and other things that I want to add into smoothies or salads that I make. And so I have my bowl. Can you guys see me here? This is my kale here. I cut some pieces off. I'm good to go. I throw it in. I load this thing up, and it's insane the way that this thing grows. I will load this whole bowl up and come back out the next day and do the same thing. So, and I'm using this in smoothies. The weather that we're in right now is like 100+ degrees. It's kind of insane out here. Like, thank goodness we did the call at this time. Otherwise, I would have been melting out here. But smoothies are like what keep me cooled down and keep the nutrients going in like easily. So I do this, and I do this along with my plant concentrates, which gives me like tons and tons of nutrients. So, and we'll probably talk more about plant concentrates and all the beauty of that as well on another call. But that is all that I have to share with you guys. And this was awesome for me, Suzanne and Melissa, because I learned a ton from you guys as well. So thank you guys.
So great, Brittany. Thank you for sharing. And you guys, we are just about to wrap up in a minute or two here. I just wanted to share with you some of my own personal experience and what I love about the towers. I think, you know, we all love the towers, but we all have kind of our different thing that we love most about them. And we jumped right in at the beginning, and I didn't really share with you about why I love the Tower Gardens. And for me, I'm actually born and raised on a farm. My family runs a lavender farm here in Northern California. So I was raised growing an in-ground garden. My parents live on 13.5 acres, so we have plenty of space to grow a big garden, and we often did. However, I remember it being very sweaty, very dirty, very back-breaking work of all the pulling of weeds. And it was so wonderful, don't get me wrong, to harvest our own produce that we had grown. It was very rewarding. However, very often, much of the produce we were growing, the bugs and the rabbits and the deer and the worms would get to it before we could. And if we forgot to, you know, if we went on a vacation and we had to have someone come and watch the house and water the plants, and if they forgot to do it, then it was like our whole garden was done for, because we here in Northern California, we do get those really high temperatures. We're in over 100-degree heat right now. And so even though I now live on a ranch of 15 acres and have plenty of space to grow a big in-ground garden, I'm still growing with towers because it's so simple. And as Brittany mentioned, being a super busy mom, and I know this is true, Suzanne and Mel, they're both busy. We all have busy in our lives. It's so nice to know that it's taking care of itself, and I don't have to weed it, and the pests are not a problem, even though we do have lots of deer and rabbits all over our property. They don't come up to the house to come and try and nibble off of our tower garden. So I love that. I love the money savings. Mel touched on this a little bit, that once you have completed purchasing your tower garden, it's just bringing in, it's a money tree. It's bringing you that green in the form of food. And what I also like to share is that we found that the tower garden pays for itself right away, because most people are paying anywhere between $50 to $70 a month to pay for their tower garden. And if you're spending $15 to $20 a week, which the average American at least spends about $15 to $20 a week bare minimum. I feel like we spend $15 to $20 a day on fresh greens and produce. Then it is a break even or potentially even paying for itself in your very first month. So I love that. And lastly, with what's going on in our world, with the pandemic, there is food insecurity right now. I know for us here, there have been times where I went to the grocery store and the produce was gone. And it was very startling to me because we practically live on plants in our house. And, you know, to not see that there was scary. So there's that. Also, with the pandemic, I never envisioned myself being a homeschool mom, but it looks like that could be my future because schools are unlikely to open this coming school year. And these are a great tool to utilize in the home with teaching your children. If anybody homeschools or anybody's a teacher here, they are fantastic. You can do math lessons, science lessons, poetry. They can write about their tower garden. It's really awesome. And there is tower garden curriculum that if you want to purchase this for a school, for your child's school, or if you want to purchase it for homeschooling, there is curriculum that comes with it, and it's fantastic. So I really encourage you guys to reach out to the person who invited you. If you just jumped on to learn more because you're already growing with a tower garden, that's great. If you were interested in starting to grow with a tower garden, definitely reach out and ask all the questions you have. Really quickly, before we jump off, we had one question in the chat, which I'm going to open up to our speakers here to answer. My friend told me the tower light instructions said not to use them with flowering plants like tomatoes and cucumbers. What is your experience with this? Do you guys not use the tower lights with flowering plants?
I can speak to this, and then I think Suzanne should maybe show what she's growing inside because she has tomatoes inside. So what Tower Garden provides you best practices for growing. And so what they do is they give you a list of best practices in order for you to have the best yield possible. And I can say from experience, anything is possible. You should just try it. So if you're growing inside and you want to grow vining plants, I would suggest that you select the Flex version simply because you can use the tomato cage, but also because it's better suited for larger plants. So if you want to grow tomatoes and cucumbers, that sort of thing, look into hand pollination. You can YouTube this. Hand pollinating plants is super easy. That's something you're going to have to do inside because you don't have bees and insects and wind. I would suggest to put a small fan on your towers as well to help that pollination process. You might see a decrease in yield. Or as Suzanne can show you, you might see a lot of cherry tomatoes. But ultimately, I would say go ahead and try and experiment with it. It may or may not work out as expected, but I would say it's worth a try. And also, you could experiment with a red light. There are other spectrum lights, but our lights are better suited for green leafy vegetables. Suzanne, do you want to touch on that?
Yeah, I'll just basically echo what you said. And I'll also share with everybody my fun little bumblebee that I use for pollinating my tomatoes. It's like an electric toothbrush. And it even buzzes. And yeah, actually I have a little clip-on red spectrum, blue spectrum light that I do use with my tomatoes. But yeah, putting a fan on there. Cucumbers, I will tell you, everybody wants to grow cucumbers. I've talked to seedling providers. In terms of indoor growing, I still haven't found the Mecca cucumber that will grow easily inside. I have learned lots about male and female flowers and all of that. I'm not sure, it's really tough, but somebody I know is trying something new, and so I'm hoping that will be the one that grows good for us inside. And the reason I'm sticking to the bush variety with the tomatoes is simply because the nutrients will grow these gigantic, huge plants, but you won't get as much fruit. And that might have something to do with the lights. I don't know, but I'm having great luck with my cherry tomatoes. I don't know if I can show. I'll try. Can you see any of my tomatoes there? Maybe not. I'm having a hard time driving this. Anyway, trust me, I'm getting lots of tomatoes. It's probably going to be the best yield I've ever had. And I'm not doing a whole lot. They're just growing. So experiment.
Awesome. And one more question. Will the cage work with the tower home?
No.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
It's
the
just
simple
for the
answer.
flex.
Yeah. Yeah. But sometimes people are coming up with their own creations. Like I've seen people like attach a piece of lattice somewhere and have things go over to that, or they're coming up with PCV pipe little creations of their own. So there's possible things you can do.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. Well, that's all the questions we have. And like I said, feel free to reach out to the person who invited you, and you can dive even deeper if you have questions, but we're a little shy tonight. So we thank you guys so much for being on. We know that your time is valuable, and to give us time on a weeknight when you've all got families and things going on, we really appreciate it and hope that you found this helpful. And we will, I'm sure, be planning another event soon to talk more about our whole food concentrates in case you're interested in those as well. Have a good night, everyone.
Great job, ladies.
Thank you, guys.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Hello,
Hi.
can you hear me? Hi, is everybody gone?
Hi there.
Hi, really quickly, because unfortunately I was only able to jump on at the last minute. I see that it's been recorded. Are we able to obtain a recorded copy so we can see what we missed, or do I just need a?
Yes. Yes, yeah, it has been recorded, and we will make sure and share this with all the so that they can get that to you. So I know TK will be able to get this to you.
Okay,
She sounds
perfect.
just like TK. You sound just like your sister. That's crazy.
Oh. Yes, that's my sister. She sounds like me. I'm older.
There you go. Yes.
All right, thank you, ladies.
All right.
Bye.
Good night.